His words carry weight that would break a less interesting man's jaw. He's won trophies for his game face alone. He bowls overhand. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
This sports update is brought to you by Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
I'm Petra Smith for the Subway Sports Update. Yesterday's slate of NFL Thanksgiving games saw an overtime thriller, a rookie quarterback dominating, and the Patriots running roughshod on the New York Jets. The Texans played an overtime game for the second time in 4 days and won versus the Lions 34-31 to improve their record to a league best of 10-1. Shane Graham hit a field goal with 2.21 remaining to seal the win for Houston. Robert Griffin III put on a show at Cowboy Stadium, going 20 of 28 for 311 yards and 4 touchdowns as the Redskins beat the division rivals. Dallas Cowboys 38-31. Both teams are now 5-6 and tied for the second in the NFC East. And in the night game, the Patriots destroyed the Jets 49-19. Tom Brady goes 18-28 with 323 yards and 4 touchdowns, including 1 on the ground. The Jets had 5 turnovers, including 2 by quarterback Mark Sanchez. Yet coach Rex Ryan says he's sticking with Sanchez as his quarterback. Up next, it's the David Tedla Show here on KDKT AM 790, the Sports Manimal.
This is the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. And you are listening to the David Tedla Show on 790 AM, the Sports Manimal, KDKT.
And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the David Tedla Show. Hopefully, you all had a great Thanksgiving holiday, spending time with your family and friends. Before we get into the NFL, let's talk some college football, and let's talk about the number 1 team ranked in the country. That is Notre Dame. For the first time since 1993, they are number 1, and the first time in the BCS era, they're also ranked number 1. And, defensively, they have been phenomenal, giving up an average of 10 points a game, but offensively they have been very, very bad. And let's take a look at some of their games. Week 2 against Purdue at home. Purdue is 5-6 this year, and Notre Dame beat them 20-17. They played Michigan State, who was ranked in the top 25 this year. At Michigan State, they won the game 20-3. Michigan State is 5-6. They beat Michigan, rivalry game, 13-6. And Michigan is 8-3 this year. Michigan also played Alabama, who's the number 2 ranked team in the country and a possible national championship contender, against Notre Dame. Alabama beat them 41-14. And Michigan in that game against Notre Dame had 6 turnovers. 5 of them were interceptions. So Notre Dame only scored 13 points in a home game, and their defense forced 6 turnovers. They also beat BYU 17-14. BYU is 6-5. They beat Pittsburgh 29-26 in triple OT. Pittsburgh is 4-6. So Notre Dame defensively is one of college football's best, but offensively not good. And if they want to win their first championship since 1988, they got to fix that. But 11 games of the season, you are what you are on offense. And so we'll see what happens there, as Alabama takes on Georgia next week in the SEC championship game, and the winner of that will play Notre Dame if Notre Dame beats USC. Sans Matt Barkley, by the way. All right, now to the NFL. In the Thanksgiving game, the late night game was the Patriots versus the Jets, and the Jets got absolutely boat raced, 49-19. The Patriots are now 8-3 and are averaging 45.7 points per game in their last 4 games, And the Jets, if you saw that play that Mark Sanchez did when he ran into his own offensive lineman and fumbled the football, the Patriots went on and scored. That kind of defines the season for the Jets, who have been absolutely terrible. So we bring in our producer, Zulla. Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, what part of his offensive lineman did he run into?
Oh, well, that'd be the cheeks, would it not be? That would be the butt cheeks, yes.
We're on national television on top of that, which is basically just the worst thing to do. He didn't even try to cut, you understand? If anybody watches the highlights, he runs right at the man, which is, I don't understand how he is still allowed to touch the ball. But anyway, I digress on that.
Yeah, and that has to lead to the point, at what point do they put in Tim Tebow? It doesn't matter whether or not he's good or bad. It's the fact that Mark Sanchez hasn't done anything to prove that he is a starting quarterback in this league. You know, he had the first 2 years in his career with the Jets. They went to the playoffs. But since then, not much from him. And it's a lost season at this point, so why not try it?
If I'm not mistaken, he ranks 31st in quarterback rating, I believe. And if you run through your Rolodex of NFL starting quarterbacks, there's only one that could possibly be worse, and that's Mr. Gabbert Kamablaine, who is now on injured reserve. Really, or just because the owner wants him to be, I don't know. But the fact that you can't possibly get worse, what's wrong with trying another level? I don't know. I can't call it.
Yeah, and the Patriots are really looking very good. They played the Rams, they've played the Bills, and then they played the Jets, and they played the Colts last week. So you could say the competition hasn't been amazing, but offensively they're juggernauts right now.
It could be a deceptive, because you saw what happened when he ran into a defense. Arizona lost, Seattle lost, and they're going to come see the 49ers pretty soon. So we'll give it to them for now, but it could be a deceptive 40 whatever points per game right now. But they're pushing through. They're doing what they're supposed to be.
And let's see how they do after the Rob Gronkowski injury. Now let's go to the other game, which was the Redskins versus the Cowboys.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say, they call it Cowboys and Indians.
Yeah. Robert Griffin III, that guy is just so smooth. 4 touchdowns in that game. That's 2 weeks in a row with 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards in his first game at Cowboy Stadium. Jerry Jones was impressed. Of course, the viewers on national TV were impressed, as I've been impressed with him all year. That guy has got a bright future ahead of him.
What I noticed when I was watching that game was that what he's normally known for, which is being very mobile and be able to run, he wasn't even doing a lot of that early on. It was just simply throwing the ball and finding the right seam. So for them to just assume that he can't throw the ball and he'll have to run on us, that was an error also. I liked watching his diversity. He can stay in the pocket when he needs to, which is usually the downfall of mobile quarterbacks.
Right, and he's also put this team in playoff contention as well in an NFC East that looked like the Giants had in control and now have just fallen. So if the Giants lose this Sunday to the Packers, they're going to be a game out of first place, which is unbelievable.
It is wild.
Yeah.
I just looked up a couple stats here. 311 yards passing, 29 yards rushing, which is usually he's in the 80s, 50s in rushing. So again, to his skill set. And this is going to be an interesting one, because if the Giants do lose another one, who are proclaimed to be the defending champions, which they are, but there's something about them that I just don't ever give them that proper chance. So let's see if they prove us wrong again.
Yeah, and of course Pierre Garçon, their big offseason acquisition, is back. He looked healthy, and he had a great game. And then the early game, the morning game, there was the Texans and the Lions.
Foster child.
This man has Arian Foster, who's been leading his fantasy football league team, along with Matt Ryan and others. But the Texans, if the second time in 4 days, had played an overtime game, and with 2 minutes remaining, kick a field goal to win it, to improve their record to 10-1.
It's a good thing the team can't be convicted of theft, because they did steal a touchdown, but it's all right.
Yes, referring to the Justin Forsett 80-plus yard touchdown run, he was clearly down, but Jim Schwartz, who last year told Jim Harbaugh to learn the rules, threw out the challenge flag on a scoring play, which is not a smart decision by Schwartz, because that's an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, and you lose the right to challenge. because all scoring plays are reviewable, so there was no need to challenge. He kind of overreacted there, and you could see during the game he pointed to his chest saying, "That's on me."
I want to chime in real quick on that's possibly the second most bizarre rule that I've heard. The fact that it's still not reviewed. His unsportsmanlike conduct, his flag negates the fact that they still have to review it. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers, was it 2 years ago?
It was the Bears-Green Bay. I think I know what you're talking about. The Bears-Green Bay NFC Championship game where there was a fumble and an offensive lineman picked it up, and I think it was under 2 minutes.
Forte fumbles the ball, and he's not allowed to. Only Forte is allowed to pick up the ball, which was just so weird to me. Right? You'd think they wear the same color uniform, anybody can grab it, but. Yeah, these NFL guys, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah. But let's get on the Texans. Their defense has been looking quite shaky a bit, except for the Bears game, which was a rainy game, and there was a lot of turnovers in that one. But these last two games against the Jaguars and the Lions, you could have expected that, but the Jaguars at home, the Texans they gave up 30-plus points. So it could be the linebacker play, there's a lot of injuries there, but the Texans' defense has not been looking good the last two games.
I wanted to give the Jacksonville game over to, okay, you have Chad Henne in the game now, and as far as schemes go, who knows? Maybe something got thrown off there, but for them to give up, 38 points in that game? In the Jacksonville game?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
It's inexcusable. So we're interesting to see. It's going to be what they do coming up here in these next couple games. I hope they can stay on it because I need Foster to do all right.
The Ravens, they've only lost twice this year, but probably do not look very impressive to many. I don't. Without Ray Lewis, and there's a lot of other injuries in the defense, and Flacco's ability on the road, his play on the road has not been very good. But you could be looking at a Texans-Patriots AFC Championship game, and a preview of that would happen on Monday Night Football, Week 14. So look for that game. That should be a good one.
Hey, come see your guys next week.
He's talking about he's referencing the Tennessee Titans, who need to win this week in order to stay in the playoff hunt, which I don't know. I don't see it happening. But
I didn't want to burst his bubble.
Yeah. Let's go on to a realm of topic that's not only been a national story, but here in the Bay Area, it's been a topic of discussion. That'd be the 49ers quarterback situation.
You gonna bring that up?
Oh, I got to. I mean, you have to. It's a topic that must be talked about. Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith. Now, Kaepernick
should have spied your notes, man.
He looked pretty impressive on Monday night.
He looked dapper. Go ahead, say it.
Yeah, yes, he looked very nice. The balls were very crisp. He threw 16 of 23 for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. A lot of people were saying that throw to Kyle Williams, which was a 50-yarder, down the sidelines was one of the best throws they've seen in a long, long time out of a 49er quarterback. We're talking about either 16 and number 8. Those two numbers came into reference.
Now.
Yeah. But Alex Smith, you would think, as soon as Alex Smith gets healthy, you bring him back in the game, or you let him start again.
It just goes to show you how fickle these people are, because you can do a lot of good things. As soon as some little twist or something bad kind of happens, they're already off to the next guy. So Kaepernick's going to need to ride the high for a little bit, but Smith is the one that's been carrying us for the past 2 years, so I think he's going to be all right.
It's interesting because Alex Smith has had a crazy journey here since he's got to San Francisco. The number 1 overall pick, a different offensive coordinator every year. Then they see the Niners are trying to get Peyton Manning, and then all of a sudden they bring him back. But after Alex Smith led this team to the playoffs on a 13-3 record, and now this year they're 7-2-1. He's responsible of 6 of the 6-2. He's 6-2. That tie could be put on Kaepernick or that 49er defense that week, but that's a different story. But that's 20 wins in the last 2 years if you include that playoff win against the New Orleans Saints. And all of a sudden, he might be on the bench behind Colin Kaepernick. You could say this is Jim Harbaugh's guy, a second-round pick in the last year's draft. So maybe that could be a reason why he wants to go Kaepernick. Or maybe Alex Smith is still in that concussion phase. He has been practicing this week, but it's interesting to see. They play the Saints this week, and they played each other last year in the playoffs. It'd be great to see Alex Smith in the game, but if it's time for a new era, I don't know if that's the case, but Colin Kaepernick seems like he's ready to go.
They failed to mention that it might not be huge leaps and bounds, but Alex Smith has been getting a little bit better every single year. So for him to be able to do that, he's a smart guy. So for him to be able to do that with all the chaos that's going along, you see what happens now when we get a little bit of stability. Now, if anybody knows Jim Harbaugh, he is a weirdo, and he asks the media funny questions as well as on top of him answering the funny questions that he gets. So he never really wants to be clear with anything. And I personally think Kaepernick's going to start, but you can't rule anything out with him because he says it won't benefit anything, competitively if he is to tell anybody. So, I mean, between all the stuff that we're seeing on the air and all that, nobody actually knows what he's going to do. But
I mean, you can see the differences in their game with Kaepernick's mobility, where he could take off at any play. Alex Smith doesn't really use his legs a lot. He can if he wants to, but not as effectively as Kaepernick. You see Alex Smith does not turn over the ball a lot.
And again, Kaepernick didn't run. He's a runner too, but they kept him in the pocket.
Yeah,
so
against the Bears, he only had 10 yards rushing. So, and the Bears forced him to use his arm, and he used his arm very well. But the key for this week's game, I'd have to say, it's their running game. If they could run the ball on the Saints, and their defense could, which is probably the best defense in all of football.
Go ahead and say it.
Yeah,
that's right.
So
keep the ball out of Breeze's hands. That's the game plan. Do not let Breeze have it.
When you run the ball, you keep the ball. You waste a lot of clock, so you have a lot of time of possession on your side. So
I just want to take a small break to thank the staff for this trail mix. It's fantastic.
As he's chowing down during our segment. All right, well, after the break, we'll come back, talk more about this 49ers quarterback situation if you would like to. Also, you could always talk about anything else on your mind in the NFL, college football, basketball, as the NBA season has been underway for a while. So get on your phones, call the station. This is the David Tedla Show on KDKT, the Sports Manimal.
I'm on my way.